seated at the back of the boat on the upper deck. In order to keep their view of the river clear, please remain seated throughout the journey.
Yeah, breakfast.
Good evening, wonderful people. Welcome aboard your London Eye River Cruise. Woohoo! Yes, I'm not just a pre-recorded voice, I am here live in person. If you're sat upstairs, turn around, give me a wave. Hello, welcome aboard. Just to quickly repeat the most important part of that brilliant safety announcement. While you're on the upper deck, please do stay seated. We've got our wonderful captain, Chris in the wheelhouse behind you, steering the vessel. Captain Chris does need to see where he is going. If you're all stood up taking photos, we're going to block his view and we might get friendly with a few bridges. And we don't want that, so please do stay seated while you're up here. However, you don't have to stay out here. You're more than welcome to head downstairs at any point during the journey. There are lots of nice, warm, comfy seats on the lower deck. Toilets are down at the back of the boat, and we've got our bar downstairs as well. Do feel free to go grab yourself some snacks, beverages, binoculars, guidebook, all that fun stuff is downstairs. My name is Jordan, I'm going to be your tour guide for today. I'm also joined on board by my colleagues Josh and Olga downstairs. If you've got any questions, need any help with anything, just come speak to any one of us and we'll do our very best to help you out. Okay, we've got one more very important rule for you all today, and that is you must wave to all the people on the bridges as we pass underneath every single one. So this first bridge we're going to go through today is Westminster Bridge. It's actually the fourth most popular selfie spot in Europe. So there's lots of people out and about on this bridge taking their selfies with that big clock tower behind them. But we'll talk about that a little later on. So let's make sure to give a big wave to the people on Westminster Bridge as we pass through. Just do bear in mind, if anyone does wave back to you today, they're definitely not from London. Any smiling faces will not be local, alright? Hello, people on Westminster Bridge, give us a wave! Lovely stuff. Oh yeah, lovely stuff. Lots of tourists out and about today. Hello! Just another quick reminder, if you're heading to the upper deck, please make sure to take a seat while you're out there. There is no standing on the upper deck. Thank you. So, let's start off today's tour by talking about this very grand building to our right. The New Palace of Westminster, or commonly known as our Houses of Parliament. It's the centre of UK government. In fact, you might be able to find some of our politicians in there right now. Do feel free to give them a wave as we go past, or any other hand gesture you deem appropriate. I certainly won't judge. Now, we call the building the New Palace of Westminster as there was an old palace. The old Palace of Westminster used to be home to the monarchy up until Henry VIII. He relocated during his reign, handing the old palace over to government, establishing the very first medieval Houses of Parliament. The medieval Houses of Parliament were here up until 1834, when the Exchequer at the time thought it would be a good idea to burn 2 cartloads of wooden tally sticks under the floors of the building. He ended up causing a huge fire, burning it all down to the ground. During the fire, the citizens of London all gathered along the other side of the river, not to help, but instead to watch and chant, "Burn Parliament, burn." One man was even arrested for excessive cheering. I wonder if the same would happen today. But after that fire, we had to have a new home for Parliament, the one you see today. Designed by Charles Barry in the Gothic style of architecture, it was completed around 1860. The clock tower at the end has become perhaps one of our most famous landmarks in London. So I'm sure you could all make a guess at the name of that tower. Come on, shout it out. Big Ben, I hear you shout. Well, I have to tell you, that is wrong. The tower is not called Big Ben. I know, what a shock plot twist. No, the correct name of the tower is actually the Elizabeth Tower. The Big Ben technically only refers to the 13-ton bell inside the Elizabeth Tower. We think that name Big Ben comes from a man named Benjamin Hall. He was the chief commissioner of the works when the bell was installed. Apparently Benjamin was a very loud, round-shaped man who was not very nice to his workers. And they all decided to name their very loud, round-shaped bell after him. Let's just be grateful his name wasn't Richard. Restoration work has recently gone on the Elizabeth Tower. We had a huge restoration project there. It took over 5 years of work, which was eventually completed in 2022. Once the restoration was complete, all the workers on it were very tired, but then again, they'd been working around the clock. The jokes are not going to get any better, by the way, just to warn you all now. But now, I'll take some time to talk to you about my employer, thelastminute.com London Eye. Standing at 135 metres high, this is the world's tallest cantilevered observation wheel. Cantilevered means it's supported on just one side, and this is an observation wheel as the pods are on the outside of it. This is not a Ferris wheel. My manager gets very upset when I use the F word. The Eye has 32 pods, one for each borough of Greater London. And the design by Marks and Barfield Architects was originally entered into a competition that was held to find a new landmark to celebrate the millennium. The design for the London Eye came in second place. However, British Airways liked the design so much that they offered to fund it themselves. It cost them about £75 million to build, but made that profit back within the first 2 years of being open. The next bridge we're approaching is the Hungerford Bridge. It's a Victorian railway bridge that connects trains to Charing Cross train station on the left. On either side of it, you've got the Golden Jubilee footbridges. Hello! They were added in 2002, the year of our next Queen's Golden Jubilee. Hello! This area to our right is our South Bank. The South Bank Centre has its origins in the Festival of Britain of 1951, which was intended to be a tonic to the nation after World War II. The main building that stands from that festival is the Royal Festival Hall. Huge concert venue there. Lots of other arts venues were later added. You've got the Queen Elizabeth Hall, the Purcell Room, the Hayward Gallery, and underneath the complex you've got the UK's very first skateboard park, the Undercroft. Opened in the early 1970s, and since then is claimed to be the home of British skateboarding. This next bridge is Waterloo Bridge, and Waterloo Bridge gets the nickname of the Ladies' Bridge. Built during World War II, while all the men were away fighting, the workforce that built the bridge was almost entirely female. It also happens to be the first and only bridge in London to be built on time and budget. I'm sure you can draw your own conclusions there. This building to our right with the electronic screen above it is our Royal National Theatre. Like many buildings on the South Bank, it was built in the brutalist style of architecture. King Charles once described that building as looking like a nuclear power station. I don't think he's a massive fan of brutalism. I must admit I am rather fond of it. Despite its arguably rather ugly exterior, inside it you will find 3 beautiful theatres. And you can see loads of award-winning shows there, often before they get a West End or Broadway transfer, and usually at a much cheaper price. So it's a great bargain for any fans of theatre. A little further ahead, you'll see a red brick building which, as you might be able to guess, was once owned by the company Oxo, the company that makes stock cubes that are still very popular in Britain today. If you look at the tower atop the building, you might think it spells out the company's name. However, I have to tell you that is technically not true. In the 1930s, when that tower was built, skyline advertising was illegal, and Oxo were taken to court for building the tower. Fortunately for them, they had a rather clever lawyer who made the argument that they had ordered a random set of geometrically shaped windows. one circle, one cross, and one more circle. They got away with it. Personally, I think the judge of that case was in the pocket of big gravy. He definitely had stock in the company. Over to the left now, you've got St Paul's Cathedral, one of the largest domed cathedrals in the world. This is actually the 5th iteration of St Paul's Cathedral. The previous version at its time of construction was the tallest building in the world, but that one burnt down during the Great Fire of London in 1666. The one you see now was designed by one of Britain's most acclaimed architects, Sir Christopher Wren, and it was completed in 1710. It stands at 365 foot tall, 1 foot for every day of the year, and it was originally supposed to have a 60-foot pineapple at the very top. At the time, pineapple was a big symbol of wealth. Christopher Wren wanted one there, but eventually he had to settle for the more traditional cross instead. Hello! So these are the Blackfriars bridges we're going under now. If you look to your left and right here, you'll see these mysterious red columns. Why are they there, Jordan? What is their purpose, I hear you will cry? Well, I'm going to let you ponder on that, and I shall reveal all to a journey. But looking back to St Paul's Cathedral, you'll notice that there are no other taller buildings around it. This is because an old law states that the dome of St Paul's Cathedral must be observable from 8 key points across the city. Now, some of those key points are quite far away, so it actually explains a lot of the strangely shaped skyscrapers ahead of us. They all had to be built in a way that honoured the protected sightlines of the cathedral. Also, the City of London School, to our left here, has this large glass atrium in the middle, so that St Paul's Cathedral is observable through the building from the river. Coming up on the right, you'll see a round white building with a thatched roof. This is Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, or a reconstruction of it. In 1870, American director Sam Wanamaker came to England hoping to find a monument to William Shakespeare, and he found absolutely nothing. So he took it upon himself to build this reconstruction. It was completed in 1997, and they used all the same Elizabethan construction methods as the original. So that means no electric tools were used to build the Globe Theatre here. Made from green oak wood, carved and shaped by hand, and that is the only thatched roof you'll see in London too. The original Globe Theatre stood here until 1613, when they put on a production of Henry VIII. And I have to admit that Henry VIII is not one of Shakespeare's most exciting plays. But they decided to liven it up by introducing a live cannon to create the sound effects of thunder. Well, the sparks from that cannon landed on the thatched roof, setting the theatre ablaze. You could say it was a performance that brought the house down. To our right, you've got this small brick building. That is the Anchor, one of the oldest riverside pubs in London. There's been a tavern or alehouse here for about 800 years. That means William Shakespeare possibly drank there until he was barred. Lots of other famous writers across London's history drank there too. Dr. Samuel Johnson, who made one of the first English dictionaries, drank in there. And the diarist Samuel Pepys witnessed the Great Fire of London from that very tavern. Now, speaking of the Great Fire of London again, if you look to the left, you'll see a golden shape at the top of a tall stone column. That is the monument, another design by Sir Christopher Wren. It was built after the Great Fire of London to serve as a monument to the fire and act as an observation platform. It became somewhere where the citizens of London could go up and watch the city regrow around them after the fire. You can still go to the top of the monument today. It's got 311 steps. There's no lift, but the views from the top are excellent. I like to say it's also a monument to the Great Fire because by the time you get to the top, your thighs will be burning. But now it is time for the thing you have all come here to see today, I'm sure. The magnificent, world-famous London Bridge. The magnificent, world-famous London Bridge is directly behind us. We just went underneath it. Yeah, that rather dull concrete bridge behind you all is London Bridge. The bridge ahead of us is Tower Bridge. But don't worry if you get them mixed up, even Google gets it wrong. you search online for London Bridge, it'll often just show you pictures of Tower Bridge. Also, the singer, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, she released a solo single in 2006 titled London Bridge, but in the music video, she's twerking away on Tower Bridge. The next thing I want to point out is a little hard to see right now as it's in camouflage, but if you look very closely to your right, you may be able to see an 11,500 ton battle cruiser. HMS Belfast played a really significant part during World War II. It assisted in sinking German battleship the Scharnhorst, and it was one of the first ships to fire at the D-Day landings. The guns at the front can fire a distance of 12 miles, and they keep those guns permanently positioned today to score a direct hit at the M1 Gateway service station in Stratford. Exactly why they do that, we're not sure, but they really are pointed that way. It's been moored here as part of the Imperial War Museums since the 1980s. We are now approaching Tower Bridge. Very exciting, I know. I'm going to move to the back of the boat so you can all get a good photo of the bridge without me in it. Just once again, please do stay seated while taking your photos. Please do stay in your seats. That will ensure everyone around you gets a good view too. Most importantly, means our captain can see where we're going. Tower Bridge, designed by Horace Jones, built in 1894. It's a bascule bridge, which means the two parts in the middle can rise up and open, allowing large ships to pass through. There is an old legend which claims if you wave to the people on Tower Bridge and get a wave back, you'll earn 5 years good luck for the whole boat. So give a wave now. Hello! There we go, lots of waves back there, lots of good luck. Hello! That is a real Edgeworthian legend. As sailors believe in the city, this is the last bridge they'd come under, so hopefully they'd have loved ones standing on the bridge to wave them farewell. And as we turn around here, it is here where you'll get your photo opportunity of the day. That's right, it's a selfie with me. I'm joking, you don't want that. I do of course mean the magnificent Tower Bridge to our left. This really is the perfect spot for a photo of the bridge from the river with the whole city behind it, especially when they turn on the lights in the evening like this, with that beautiful red sunset behind it. Really is gorgeous. So get your phones out, social media apps at the ready. If you do post any photos on Instagram today, make sure to use all the appropriate hashtags. Hashtag Tower Bridge, not London Bridge. Hashtag Get It Right Fergie. This will get you lots of likes. Hashtag Jordan is the best tour guide ever. Once again guys, please do try and stay seated while taking your photos. It means everyone around you gets a good photo of the bridge as well. There you go, you can even get a red double-decker bus in the middle for that perfect picture postcard moment. Reminds me of one of my favourite stories to do with Tower Bridge. In 1952, a double-decker bus came along the bridge on a very foggy day. The bus driver, a man named Albert Gunter, did not see the signal telling him to stop. And as he approached the centre of the bridge, he noticed it was rising underneath him. And Albert had to make a split-second decision. Do I try and come to a stop, or do I speed up? Albert decided to put his foot down and speed up. He jumped, he cleared the gap in the middle, and he successfully landed on the other side. Everyone on board survived, and Albert was regarded as a hero for saving the lives of everyone on the bus. So it was a happy ending for all of it. That really is a really beautiful red sunset in front of us right now. Okay, so to our right now, you've got the Tower of London, one of the most impressive fortresses in the UK. Established by William the Conqueror in 1066, it's had many functions over the past millennia. It's been a royal mint, an observatory, a zoo, an armory, a palace, and most notoriously, this has been a place of imprisonment, torture, and execution. So if you look to the right here, you'll see the words entry to the Traitors' Gate over an old bricked up tunnel. That is where prisoners used to be taken via boat into the tower's grounds to await their gruesome fate. The wives of Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, were both taken through that tunnel to have their heads gently removed from their shoulders. Now, only royalty was allowed the privilege of a private execution in the Tower's grounds. More common criminals would have been executed out here on Tower Hill in front of a huge public crowd. It made a great deal of entertainment that was fun for the whole family, I'm sure. We actually had public executions in London up until 1868, which is more recent than the invention of the London Underground. So that means there was a period of about 5 years when people were going out to see live public executions via the tube. How weird is that? Imagine the posters of that along the escalator. But if you go to the Tower of London today, you won't see any executions. Although you can see the crown jewels, and trust me, they are the real deal. While you're there, you can get a free tour from the yeoman warders, if you ask nicely. The yeoman warders, or the beefeaters, they live and work inside the Tower's grounds. They know all about its history, and their tours are honestly fantastic. So if you do go there, definitely ask for a tour. And of course, do make sure to give them a tip at the end. Apparently, if you tip any tour guide in London, it'll bring you 10 years good luck. And to our left now, we have the Shard. This is the tallest building in Western Europe. Designed by Italian architect Renzo Piano, built in 2012. It stands at 309 metres high, which is actually as tall as aviation laws will allow in the UK. I will admit that the Shard is not a perfect building. It does have a lot of flaws. 95 flaws to be precise. It was going to have 96, but that's another story. Inside the Shard, they've got offices, bars, restaurants, the 5-star Shangri-La Hotel, and they even have a couple of apartments at the top. Last time I checked, one of the apartments up there was selling for £43 million. So, just to let you all know, if you are planning on buying one of those apartments, I am single, I'm looking for a new place. I think we should be best friends. Come fly me after the cruise, please. And of course, there are lots of other tall buildings on the right as well. You've got the walkie-talkie, the cheese grater, the scalpel, behind that the gherkin. We do like to give some strange nicknames to our buildings as well. I think, if I noticed right coming on the way out, the tallest of these buildings, the pinnacle, I think they're showing the Welsh flag up there. Today is St David's Day, the patron saint of Wales, so I think they were, maybe you'll see it again from a bit further that way. But they usually have various digital displays on there for various occasions throughout the year, so I think they were showing the Welsh flag up there this evening. We are now coming back to London Bridge. Oh, there you go, you can just see it as between the deck there. Okay, London Bridge. There's been a version of London Bridge in some form or another on this spot for about 2,000 years. The Romans established the very first wooden bridge here. We later had a medieval stone bridge on the site. That one was a very menacing structure with 7-storey buildings on top of it and heads on pikes in southern gatehouse. The medieval London Bridge lasted for over 600 years until it was eventually replaced by the Victorians. We then had Victorian London Bridge here up until the 1960s, at which point we noticed it was starting to sink. But fortunately, a man named Robert McCulloch, an American gentleman, offered to buy London Bridge from us. He claimed he was very fond of the Victorian London Bridge, so he bought it. He transported it brick by brick to his home in Arizona, where it now stands over Lake Havasu as a tourist attraction. And it's still there to this day. So if you ever find yourself in Arizona, USA, you can go see the real Victorian London Bridge.